Okay, Dr. Joe's in the house. Apologies for being a few minutes late. Technical issues, and hope everyone's doing well where they are. I'm live and direct here in the Washington D.C. area. Got another great session today. Section 8 survival guide. Ha ha ha! Ha. Survive the Section 8 tumult. I suppose that's the thing. So anyway, Dr. Joe's in the house. Hold on a second. Let me just get the people on Instagram on. And I think we should be good to go. Hold on a second, please. Instagram should be live now. Yep, they're live on Instagram. So yes, as I said, we've got another great session on Section 8 survival guide. So it's going to be a good session. And for all those, who are DC or not DC, but housing providers, then I think you're going to learn a lot from today. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you my experiences and so on. So, as usual, if you got some questions, please put them in the chat box, and then I'll get to them in about 25 minutes from now. And also, if you want to do a one-on-one to book a session with me where we can do a deep dive into any problems, issues, concerns that you have, feel free to check it in. And, go to my website, www.joeasamoah.com. and press the link that says Ask Dr. Joe, and I'll be more than happy to help you. So I had a couple of them this week. I had Jamie and also had Tamika. So hopefully we had great sessions and so on. So let's get back to the topic at hand, which is no more guesswork. Let's do this thing properly, and let's get down to business. So why does Section 8 sometimes feel like a minefield more than a roadmap? And a reliable income stream for a lot of landlords. The allure of Section 8, which is guaranteed rent, stable income, and it's very it's very sort of enticing, but not everybody has that great experience, and so for some people it's almost like a minefield. They regret ever even dealing with Section 8. I obviously love Section 8. I think Section 8 is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But that, even though I feel that way, I think a lot of people don't. And so what I want to do is kind of take away the guesswork about this and hopefully help you leverage the power of this program, and so on, so it can help you. So there aren't just minor inconveniences with Section 8. There can be significant roadblocks that threaten the profitability and sustainability of a rental portfolio if you don't do this incorrectly. So while I and other investors thrive in this space, I think many people are burnt out, frustrated by the bureaucracy and sometimes miscommunications. You're dealing with many times housing authorities that are government entities, and as government entities, there's just bureaucracy and there's lots of frustrations they have to go through. But really, the difference, in my opinion, between success and stress lies in several things, including preparation, systems, and really understanding the unique dynamics of this program. You really take the time to understand this program before you dive headfirst into it. Section 8 just isn't a rental subsidy program, in my opinion. It's really an ecosystem with specific rules, moving parts, and key players. As you all know, it's funded by the federal government, HUD, but it's administered locally by the housing authorities. And if you're going to participate in the program, you need to know who the key players are in your local housing authority. Okay, so investors who succeed, in my opinion, they treat Section 8 like a business partnership, not just a cash flow tool. And what does that mean? It's really, they view it as a long-term game plan to be successful. So today in this live stream, we're going to go behind the scenes and look at what separates, in my opinion, thriving investors like you and I, hopefully, from the struggling ones like other investors, not you. You'll learn, what seasoned investors do, how they navigate the challenges, avoid costly mistakes, and develop a scalable system that delivers consistent income with fewer headaches. So whether you're managing 1 unit or 50 units, I think there's enough content today, actionable content, real world, battle tested, situations that I think you'll find it hopefully helpful. We're going to provide a step-by-step practical guide, and hopefully provide you with the clarity and the confidence and the control to take advantage of this program. As usual, I've broken into 6 parts, 1 through 6, and I'll focus on each one as to taking out the guesswork and providing a roadmap to success in this Section 8 program. So number one of 6 is the inspections. I call it the inspection trap because, as you know, with Section 8, technically it's called the Housing Choice Voucher Program, HCVP. There are inspections that are done. Typically, it's once a year or once every 2 years, and your property has to pass what they call housing quality standards, HQS standards, in terms of health and safety and compliance with federal regulations, compliance with code, and things like that. So the question, I suppose, is what causes landlords, some landlords anyway, to repeatedly fail the Section 8 inspection, and how can you break this cycle? Okay, so what causes some landlords just repeatedly fail inspections, and so how can you, if that applies to you, how can you break that cycle? Well, as I said before, inspections are just one of the most misunderstood and, in my opinion, underestimated aspects of the Section 8 program. While many landlords dread them, others see them, as predictable, manageable, and it's just part of the business. It's the way it is. And the truth is, consistent inspection failures is not really just about bad luck. They're the result of avoidable oversight and lack of preparation. I mean, it's documented what the inspectors are going to look for. They're going to check the doors and windows. They're going to make sure that the bedrooms have, egress. They're going to check that the plumbing system works. There's no leaks into this thing. They're going to make sure the stove is working. The refrigerator is getting cold. They're going to check all that, and it's documented. So there's really no reason to be surprised. Successful landlords view inspections as checkpoints, not threats. Many investors mistakenly assume that if a unit passed last year, well, it's going to pass this year. No. But inspectors aren't looking for perfection. They're not really looking for perfection. They're looking for compliance. They're looking for, compliance with housing quality standards. Small issues like missing outlet covers, loose banisters, dripping faucets, or even, expired fire extinguishers can quickly add up and result in a failed inspection. However, proactive landlords use HUD's HQS checklist to self-inspect the property on a regular basis, and especially 7 to 10 days before the official visit for the inspector. So what you want to do is understand what they're looking for. Go to the property beforehand, make sure everything's okay, and if it is, you're good. If it's not, take care of it before the actual inspection, so you can pass the inspection first time round. So what do? We repair everything in advance, even minor cosmetic issues, because we understand that the perception of, and consistency, it really does matter, and some even go to the point whereby they build relationships with the assigned inspectors or the housing authority, and they ask clarifying questions. They understand inspectors' personal preferences. Yes, that matters. Some inspectors are very picky about certain things. I know we had one where this inspector was very, very, almost obsessed with windows, and that they open and close properly, and they have screens, and they checked every single outlet to make sure that it was grounded properly, it was working properly. They checked the GFIs in the kitchen and bathrooms to make sure they're working properly. So some inspectors are very picky. Some inspectors are not, and so again, the idea is to understand and be prepared, and not just cross your fingers. So, okay. So, those who struggle with inspectors often approach the process reactively as opposed to proactively. What does I mean by that? They scramble at the last minute. They miss subtle but critical issues. They fail to understand the inspector's expectations. And in the end, failed inspections it can delay rent payments. It can frustrate tenants and also can be very frustrating to you. And in the worst case scenario, you could lose your housing assistance. Okay. So inspections, it is what it is. You can't get around them. It's part of the rules of the program. And but it doesn't have to be a nightmare. And you don't have to fall into the trap, the inspection trap. So what are some action items associated with inspections? Schedule pre-inspections, walkthroughs, with your checklist, HQS checklist in hand, and before the inspection, document all repairs with before and after photographs if you can, and with timestamps. And if it makes sense, develop relationships with inspectors and housing authority staff. So again, you can get clarification as to what they are looking for if you are in any way unsure. Okay, so that's number one, inspection trap. Number two is the payment delay dilemma. The payment delay dilemma. So what do I mean by that? Well, the question is, why do some landlords wait months for rents while others get paid on time every time? This, in my opinion, a few things that frustrates landlords more than anything is not getting paid. Okay, we all want to get paid, especially for the tenants in the house. And when the tenant's approved, a lease is signed, the expectation is that the rent will flow just like clockwork. Well, that may be the case, but not always. In Section 8, they're notorious for late payments or delayed payments, especially during tenant move-ins at the beginning, unit transfers if a tenant moves from one place to another, and also through annual recertifications. Things happen. And so, especially when they're moving in, you may not get paid straight away. It may have to wait 30 days or 60 days to get your rent from the housing authority. I mean, the money will come, but it may not occur at the same time as you would get with a market renter, for example. So that could be a source of frustration. The key to navigating the housing authority payment system is that it is a system and not a guarantee. So you have to understand how the system works and you work the system to your favor. So investors who get paid on time understand how the process works. They take the time to understand how the process works. They know that no money moves until every HAP contract is signed, W-9 is in there, direct deposit form is complete, everything is complete and improved. The I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, okay? They triple check any paperwork for errors before submitting it. They follow up with a housing specialist every few days, every few weeks, just to make sure that the process is moving along. They don't assume anything and they verify everything. They also build safeguards into the system. For example, they educate the tenants about their responsibilities as it pertains to keeping the paperwork going, especially recertifications when they have to provide certain documents to the housing authority once a year, once every 2 years, in terms of family composition, income, and things like that. Successful landlords, they track dates for recertifications and lease anniversaries and ensure tenants complete their responsibilities on time. Some even offer incentives for cooperation. And small things like just working with the tenants on a regular basis. Those who struggle often submit incomplete documents and they don't track submissions. And if something is dragging, they don't know, they don't worry about it, and it just keeps on going. So they fail to maintain open communications with tenants or housing authorities, and that, what does that mean? That results in avoidable delays. So getting paid on time isn't magic, it's management. Okay, I'll repeat that again. Getting paid on time isn't magic, it's management. It's your oversight and making sure that things are moving along. What are some of the action items you can do in terms of payment delays? Well, you can create a checklist of required documents for every new Section 8 lease. Call the housing authority on a regular basis after submission to make sure that the application is moving along. And also add tenant recertification reminders to your calendars every, 90, 60, 30 days. from when they're supposed to recertify. So you can kind of send them reminders, checking with them to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. Number 3, paperwork pitfalls. Paperwork pitfalls. So what paperwork mistakes are silently, I suppose the question is, what paperwork mistakes are silently sabotaging your rental income? You know, as I said, you know, if you're going to participate in this program, there's paperwork that you have to complete. There's processes that have to be completed. And what are those things that can sabotage your income if it's not done? So in the Section 8 world, paperwork is currency. A single wrong date, a missing field can delay your lease approval, your inspection, or even your rent check. Unfortunately, many investors treat paperwork almost like an afterthought. Okay, sloppy document management is one of the most common reasons for Section 8 headaches. Top performing landlords, hopefully like you and I, have standardized the entire onboarding process. We use consistent intake packets that includes the HAP contracts, the W-9s, the direct deposit forms, the lead payment disclosures, the lease addendums, the inspection readiness checklist. We've got almost like a template, that we have ready. And so every time I get a new tenant or submit a new packet, we're just updating the template as opposed to starting from scratch. These packets are pre-filled and verified beforehand, and before even submitted to the housing authorities. And also technology plays a role here. Smart investors, we can use cloud storage. We store these documents on things like Google Drive, Dropbox, iDrives, and so on. So that way we can access the documentation remotely, and we can timestamp every single document. We keep copies of every email and scan physical documents the moment they're signed. I know in the DC housing authorities, most housing authorities now, you don't submit paperwork, you submit electronic files. So again, it's more into the electronic age, storage case. And so it's good to have cloud storage, so that way you can access your documents wherever you are. When the payment is delayed, you can instantly, because it's electronic, resend any file to the housing authority that they're requesting. Those who fail in this area rely on paper copies that get lost. They forget to verify submissions or assume housing authorities will call if something goes wrong. No. You got to make sure that you double check, triple check, quadruple check all your documents before you submit. In reality, silence is not progress. Proactive documentation is the antidote to guesswork. Okay, so number 3, what's some of the action items? Use digital templates for your Section 8 intake packets. Upload all documents to a shared cloud folder for easy access, and label files with a consistent naming convention. So we're kind of halfway through. If you got some questions, please put in the chat box, and I will get to them in about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. Put in the chat box and I'll get to you shortly. And as usual, if you want to do a deep dive, you can do a one-on-one with me. Just for full disclosure, I will be going to Ghana on Sunday for 2.5 weeks. I'll go to a wedding over there. And so I may do a Wealth Wednesday next week. I'll be in Ghana, but I don't know. We'll see how things go. So I won't be also doing any one-on-ones for another couple of weeks. But you can always book a session. And if I'm available, I definitely will try to do that and help you if I can. Okay, number 4, tenant trouble spots. Tenant trouble spots. Another issue and concern, and that a lot of people have. The question is, how do you protect your investment from tenant-induced chaos? How do you protect your investment, your asset, your property from tenant-induced chaos? Tenants. If you don't select tenants the right way, you are dead in the water. Section 8 or no Section 8. Tenant-related issues are one of the most unpredictable parts of being a landlord. With Section 8 tenants, the stakes are even higher, because a single lease violation can trigger an inspection. They can call the authorities on you. They can call damage claims. and you could also lose your voucher. And however, investors who have thrived in the Section 8 program have mastered one key principle, and that is structure wins. Structure wins. Strong tenant screening is the first line of defense. It's better to have a place empty than it is to have the wrong person in your house. Believe me, I've tried it both ways. It's not, peace of mind is worth a lot. Savvy landlords don't relax their standards just because a tenant has a voucher. No, they still check references, verify income, review criminal records, assess behavior during the application process. We're still very thorough. But beyond that, we build systems for tenant education and accountability. We hold tenants responsible and accountable. At move-ins, for example, we, at least I do anyway. I tell tenants what I expect from them. I give them a tenant, a handbook outlining things like the housing rules, house rules, I suppose, maintenance responsibilities, and inspection readiness. Walkthroughs are done with photographs and signatures. Communication is consistent and documented. And also we do regular property visits to ensure that they're taking care of the property, there's compliancy, and also allows the landlord to address any issues early. So investors who fail usually rely on verbal agreements. They have an inconsistent enforcement of the rules and lease, and also they fail to document problems. This erodes their ability to control the property. And if they ever have to go to court, they have a very weak case because they're not enforcing the rules. And if you don't enforce the rules, then it sends mixed messages to the tenants. They can do whatever they want because there's nothing you can do about it. So clarity, documentation, and proactive engagement are really the pillars of tenant success. So what's some of the action items? Use a written house rules agreement signed by all tenants. I have a house rules document, which is part of a packet that you can purchase online at my website. I think we have a packet of 5 documents: the lease, house rules, inspection checklist, and a few others. I think it's about $250. I think it is. Anyway, use written house rules, conduct quarterly inspections, and document photos, and set up a tenant communications log to track text, calls, and violations from your tenants. Okay, number 4 done. Let's go to number 5, which is working with housing authorities. Working with housing authorities. So again, what we're trying to do is to take the guesswork out of Section 8. It's all survival mode. Okay, working with housing authority, you have to work with housing authorities. You have no choice if you're going to participate in the program. The question is, why do some landlords get results while others get the runaround? Why do some people get results while other people get the runaround? Well, housing authorities can be complex bureaucracies. We know that, with many moving parts. To navigate them successfully, though, landlords must treat the relationships like they would be a key vendor. You have to have good relationships with your housing authority. Respectful persistence, clarity, and documentation are the winning formulas, in my opinion. Successful landlords take the time to understand who does what at the housing authority. They keep a list of the department heads, inspector contacts, and caseworkers, along with direct telephone numbers and email addresses if they need to communicate. When an issue arises, we escalate appropriately and professionally, of course. We confirm everything in writing and follow up every conversation. We also attend what we call landlord briefings, which are typically held by the housing authorities to educate landlords about what to expect from the program. We attend housing authority webinars if they have them, and also if there's any stakeholder events, we want to go there. We want to get to know people, develop relationships, because at the end of the day, that really does make a difference. These opportunities give us an insight into policy changes, what's changing, if anything, inspection trends, or if there's any administrative backlogs or some things that we need to be aware of. And we build relationships, not just for transactions. Okay. On the other hand, landlords who complain but fail to document are often left in the dark. They don't know what's going on. You know, things are going on around them. They're clueless, and and they're very reactive. Okay, vague communications. They don't follow up. Often blame others without looking at themselves. Housing authorities staff, like any professionals, really, they respond better to those who are clear, courteous, sorry, and prepared. So, what are some of the action items associated with working with a housing authority? Keep a contact sheet for each housing authority and update it monthly or regularly. Recap all phone calls in writing and send communication emails, and also attend at least one housing authority event if you can every quarter. Okay, and finally, number 6, scaling your Section 8 portfolio. That is the goal here, is to scale. And the question is, can you really scale with Section 8? Or is it just a one property play? I think I've debunked that one. You could definitely scale. Absolutely, Section 8 can be scaled, but only if you build systems that remove you from every detail. The investors who succeed at scaling don't operate like mom and pop landlords. We don't. We delegate, automate, and document at every level. We use property management software to track rent payments, inspections, maintenance, tickets, and tenant communications. We hire administrative help if we need it. Some people even use VAs, virtual assistants, to help handle things like emails, follow-ups, documentation uploads, and inspection schedule. I have a VA. She's from Ghana. She lives in Ghana, sorry. And but she's really essentially my right-hand person. She does a lot of the stuff for me. And so that way I can focus on all the things that I need to focus on. But more importantly, the VAs or assistants, they can build in buffers, you can't do everything yourself. You can't. Especially if you're going to try and scale your business, go into multiple jurisdictions and diversify your portfolio. You got to create templates, SOPs, standard operating procedures, so that team members can plug into the system without having to reinvent the wheel. Scaling is not about just working harder. No, it's about building smarter. Section 8 investors who do well, in my opinion, think like business owners. They think like business owners, not just landlords. So what are some of the action items you can do in terms of scaling? Build a template library of forms, letters, and standard processes. Hire a part-time VA or admin to assist you with compliance and tracking, and use dashboards and alerts to manage inspections and lease renewals. So that's pretty much it. So let me wrap this up in a conclusion. What separates Section 8 success from burnout? It's at the end of it is systems. The Section 8 program is filled with opportunity, guaranteed rent, long-term tenants, and a massive pool of demand. There's a lot of people that have vouchers that just can't find housing. But without the right systems in place, those benefits can quickly disappear under the weight of things like red tape, missed inspections, and communications breakdowns. The most successful real estate investors don't just survive Section 8, they master it by implementing proactive inspections, streamlined paperwork, professional tenant management, and also intentional housing authority relationships. You can transform your rental portfolio into a predictable, sustainable income engine, income streams. You'll not only reduce risk and stress, but also improve the quality of your life and also the quality for your tenants who truly need housing stability. So Section 8 isn't just a shortcut to riches. No, it's not. It's a structure that rewards those who build strong systems, maintain discipline, and adapt to the evolving rules of engagement. For those who do, rewards are substantial: consistent income, reliable tenants, and a business that runs with clarity and purpose. So this is your chance to do good and do well. And don't just guess. Let's get it right. My friends, that is it for today's education segment. It's 7:40. And as usual, if you've got some questions, please put them in the chat box. I'm going to get to you in about 2 minutes. If you want to shoot me an email, you can email me at joe@joeasamoah.com, joe@joeasamoah.com. And if you want to book a one-on-one with me where we can do deep dive into any topic that's real estate related that you feel I can be of assistance with you, you can go to my website, www.joeasamoah.com. www.joeasamoah.com, and then you can always press the button called Ask Dr. Joe, and then I will hopefully be of assistance to you. Okay, my friends, let's get down to the Q&A session. Ask Dr. Joe. Again, if you got some questions, put them in the chat box. Let's have a look. What do we have today? Greetings from Phoenix. Hey, Dao2, hope you're doing well. As usual, I'm sure it's hot where you are because it's hot over here. Hi, Joe. Ari Davis is here. Hey, Ari, how's it going? And who else we got? Hey, Joe, we missed you last week. You didn't answer any of our messages or in the chat. But yeah, I was a guest speaker as a real estate investor event last Wednesday here in Alexandria, Virginia. It was really good time. And I was sharing some of my tips and suggestions for building wealth through real estate investing, leveraging on the Section 8 program. We had a good audience and had a good time. Okay, let's have a look. Nesta, again, I decided to have a property management company find my Section 8 tenant for me. It's getting hard to find one myself. I don't know about that. I disagree with you. First of all, I suppose, where are you located, Nesta? Maybe you can give me an idea. Let's continue with your message. When looking at the listing for Section 8, these property management companies dominate the listing in my area. They are getting all the calls. My listing is at the bottom. That's why I'm using them. I disagree completely. I don't use property management companies. I do it all myself. Why? Because I don't trust them. At the end of it, not in a negative way. I just feel that the person who's most interested in your business is you, and you can't expect third parties to be just as concerned about your business as what you should be. So I focus on several things. I have the location. I try to get houses that are not in bad areas because I'm trying to attract what I call tier 1 tenants. And tier 1 tenants, they certainly don't want to live in dangerous areas for the children. And I've taken the time to understand them. And the messages that I put on the ads, it talks to them, it speaks to them, it highlights certain things that differentiate my product from other. I stage my homes. I advertise in the right platforms where voucher holders are looking. And also I'm very open. I'm very positive when I speak to them. I try to develop communications and try to be pleasant and so on. So I mean that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot we can do. And if you need some help in that one, I would suggest you may want to book an hour with me, Nesta, and I can share with you in more detail what I do and hopefully how it can help you. You're probably going to pay at least a month's rent to the management company to find you somebody, and they may not find you anybody that's any good. I'm very thorough on my screening. I firmly believe it's better to have a place empty than have the wrong person in your house. I do landlord checks. I verify with the landlords, current landlords, previous landlords, check income and credit. But Section 8 income and credit really doesn't matter because for the most part, everyone's got bad credit. And for the most part, their rent is determined by the housing authority and not you, and it's based on their income. So you can't use the traditional, well, you need to earn 3 times the rent before I can rent to you. That doesn't really work with Section 8. And I also go to their homes and do a home visit. Management companies will probably not do that. But I do because I found that how they keep their house today is how your house is going to be in 3 months, guaranteed. So Dow2, hopefully that was helpful, Nesta. Let's have a look. Dow2, HCVP, this is Section 8, asked if would reduce my rent from the max amount because of utilities. I agreed to. A week later, they called and asked if I could reduce it by another 120 because they said they calculated utilities. Okay, so let's continue. For one less bedroom than I have in my house, the tenant had already moved in, so I agreed to the additional 120 amount. here's what confused me. What they sent me, the HAP contract, it had a utility payment of 361, but my math, the utility payment should be 411 for utility. The 411 was the total amount. HCPP asked me to reduce my rent. I asked them if 361 was correct. Oh my God, they're going into the weeds here. So $50 is unaccounted for. Okay, let's see if I can break this down. So it sounds like that too has a property. I think he's in Phoenix, Arizona, and he has, they agreed on a rent, and for whatever reason, they did the calculations and found out that he was asking too much for the rent, so they asked him to reduce it by $120. Because the calculation to the utilities. Now, the way it works in Section 8 is that they will typically advertise a rent. So you can say, look, if you go online, you'll say, okay, for 3 bedrooms, we pay $3,000. For 4 bedrooms, we pay $3,500. For 5 bedrooms, we pay $4,000, let's just say. That is based on if, and this is the tricky part, that advertised rate is usually based on the assumption that you, the landlord, is paying all utilities. And I never pay utilities. So what you have to do is to subtract from that max rent a portion for utilities. And sometimes they should give you a utility spreadsheet, which says, okay, for a 3-bedroom row house, for heating, if it's gas, we're gonna subtract this. If the tenant's paying for water, sewer, we're gonna subtract this. If they're responsible for electric, we're gonna da 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 da. So then they subtract all that from the max rent to tell you what the max they'll pay in net rent. I think this is correct, Dao. And so that's what happened in your case. They did some recalculation and said that, hey, we did our calculations wrong. You need to reduce your rent by $120. And then they turn around later on and say, well, we need you to reduce it by another $50 because the numbers don't add up, and so on. So it's one of those things where it's almost like a take it or leave it with Section 8. They offer you something. If you don't like it, you say, I'm not interested. And then you have to start all over again, or you take it. And so on. So I think that's what is going on here. It's kind of little shenanigans they're playing on you. But there's a $50. What I would do if you have some relationships down there, down to the housing authority, is to contact them and see if you can get some clarification on how they determined, the request for you to reduce your rent. It's all about relationships at this point. If you can send an email, speak to the caseworker, speak to the specialist, and get some clarification, that will be helpful. Sometimes these housing authorities have what they call a landlord day, where you can go in to the housing authority, speak to somebody, and hopefully get some FaceTime so they can explain exactly what the issue is. So that's what I would suggest here, is that you either contact the specialist, the caseworker, have them explain to you why they're reducing it by this amount, or why they're requesting that you reduce it by this amount, and see if you can push back, and hopefully you get some kind of compromise whereby you don't have to reduce it by too much. I mean, that's what I do. You may have to provide some comps to support the rent that you're requesting, and any other evidence that you shouldn't be taking too much of a hit. Okay. One of my tenants asked if they could start paying their portion of the rent with an app that I've never heard of. Okay, what was that one? I'm hesitant about using the app because I'm not familiar with it. Okay, what apps did they suggest? You missed that one out. Okay, what apps do you use? I currently do not use payment apps. Most of my tenants, voucher tenants, they pay with Cash App. That seems to be very, very popular. For some reason, a lot of them have Cash App accounts. So what they do is they pay their portion of the rent through the app to me. I prefer it that way. Some tenants pay by Zelle, and none of my tenants pay by Venmo. So in terms of the allocation or the proportion, I would say 70%, 80% pay by Cash App if they have a portion to pay, and the other 20 or 30% pay with Zelle. I do not require that they, well, I do not accept cash. I don't go to people's houses and knock on the door. I don't accept payments through the mail. Everything is electronic, so that way there's a paper trail. And if I don't receive the rent, they should be able to find out where it went to. That's what I do. And the most popular app that my tenants have anywhere is Cash App by far. So I would suggest that you may want to get a Cash App account, or it could be different where you are in Phoenix, Dow too. So you want to find out what's the most popular payment systems that that's common, and then you may want to set up an account there, so that way you are able to receive payments from that that source. It's easier for you to adapt than to get them to try to use a system that we say are unfamiliar with. And that's the reason why I accept Cash App, I accept Zelle, because that's the app that they feel comfortable with. And some of my tenants used to go to the Bank of America and deposit their rents directly. That's still an option for most people, but very, very few people actually do that. It's usually Cash App and Zelle. Okay, I'm not too sure what app you're referring to, Dow, that your tenant wanted to use. So you may want to clarify that with me and let me know. Rent app is the one. Okay, it's called Rent app. I've never heard of Rent app before. I will definitely do some due diligence on that one to make sure that it's not a scam, make sure that it's a reputable application, and before I will do that. And what you may want to do is to have the tenant send you $1, and that way you can confirm that you received it before they send it all in one go. Okay, so I think we are just about done for the day. If you got any questions, please put them in. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up. A long day. Kudos to Johnny. He's scheduled to purchase his next investment properties tomorrow. So kudos to him. Congratulations. And spoke with Corliss today, and another one of the students, and kudos to her. She's looking to buy another house. So she's rolling. And so it's all good. And but real estate is good. It's a great business if you do it right. Hopefully today I helped you navigate some of these challenges, and hopefully take away some of the guesswork out of surviving and thriving with a Section 8 program. Okay, have a safe trip to Ghana. Cheers to the bride and groom. Will do. So next week, I don't know if I'm going to be doing a live Wealth Wednesday, because I will be in Ghana. I'm leaving on Sunday, arriving in Ghana on Monday. And we're going through Istanbul in Turkey. So that should be interesting. I've been to Istanbul before. And then from there, we're going to Ghana. And we're going to Turkish Airlines. So that should be interesting. Okay, guys. So I will see you, hopefully, God willing, very shortly. If not next Wednesday, it'll be shortly thereafter. Again, keep smiling. Keep focused on the prize, and I'll see you at the top. Take care, guys. Bye for now.